When I look back at that morning, I can still remember the way the steam clung to the mirror in our small suburban home in Denver. I had just turned on the shower, letting the water warm up, and I was halfway through slipping out of my clothes when the bathroom door swung open. Standing there, wide-eyed and frozen in shock, was my husband's son, Ethan. For a few seconds, the world seemed to stop. Neither of us spoke. I grabbed the towel closest to me and clutched it tightly, my heart racing faster than it ever had before. He looked just as startled as I was, his cheeks flushing crimson. "Ethan," I gasped, pulling the towel tighter around myself. "What are you doing? Don't you knock." "I'm sorry," he stammered, immediately covering his face with his hands before turning and bolting out of the bathroom. The door slammed shut behind him, and the sound echoed through my chest like a drum. I leaned against the sink, my body trembling, not from cold but from the overwhelming rush of adrenaline. I knew it was just a mistake, a clumsy accident, but in that one moment, everything in our house shifted. Something innocent could so easily be twisted, misunderstood, or misrepresented. And in a family already balancing on the edge of fragility, the smallest incident could shake everything. My husband, Mark, had been working long hours at the hospital, often coming home long after dinner. Ethan, his 17-year-old son from his first marriage, had been staying with us more frequently, and though I had always tried to build a bond with him, it hadn't been easy. He was polite, yes, but distant, like he kept a wall between us. His mother and Mark had gone through a bitter divorce, and I sensed Ethan hadn't fully accepted me yet as part of his world. After that morning, a tension settled into the air between Ethan and me. He avoided eye contact whenever we crossed paths, and I could feel him stiffen whenever I spoke to him. I wanted desperately to explain, to laugh it off, to assure him that what had happened was nothing more than an accident, but his silence made it impossible. That night, when Mark came home, exhausted from a 14-hour shift, I considered telling him what had happened. But the words stuck in my throat. What would I even say? "Your son walked in on me while I was getting ready for a shower?" It sounded so incriminating, so full of implications, when in truth it was nothing at all. But silence, I feared, was dangerous too. Days passed. The atmosphere at home grew heavier, as though invisible threads of suspicion and misunderstanding wound tighter and tighter around us. I noticed the way Ethan would glance at me sometimes, quick, almost guilty, and then look away. I noticed how quiet he became around his father, as if afraid of betraying a secret. And I noticed how Mark himself seemed more distant, like he felt something was off but couldn't put his finger on it. One evening, as I prepared dinner, I heard Mark and Ethan talking in the living room. Their voices were low, but I caught fragments. "You can tell me anything," Mark was saying. "I know," Ethan mumbled. "It's nothing. Forget it." But it wasn't nothing. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. The incident had lodged itself between us like a splinter, festering quietly. It wasn't until a week later that the storm truly broke. I had just finished folding laundry when Mark walked into our bedroom, his face set in a way that made my heart drop. He closed the door behind him, leaned against it, and crossed his arms. "Is there something you want to tell me?" he asked. His voice was calm, but there was a sharp edge beneath it. My breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Ethan told me something. Something about that morning." My stomach twisted. "He told you?" Mark nodded, his jaw tight. "He said he walked in on you." "That you didn't," he hesitated, searching for words. "That you didn't seemed upset." I dropped the shirt I had been holding. "That's not true." I was shocked. Of course I was. I grabbed a towel immediately. "It was an accident. He walked in without knocking." Mark studied me for a long moment, his eyes filled with doubt, with hurt. "Why didn't you tell me right away?" "Because I knew it was nothing," I pleaded. "Because I didn't want to make it into something it wasn't." He was embarrassed, I was embarrassed, and I thought we could just move past it. Mark turned away, running a hand through his hair. "You should have told me. You should never keep things like that from me." Tears stung my eyes. "I wasn't hiding it. I was protecting him. Protecting you. I didn't want you to think badly of him. Or of me. But now it's been twisted into something ugly, and that's exactly what I was afraid of. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. For the first time in our marriage, I felt a wall rising between Mark and me, a wall built out of mistrust. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, while Mark slept on the edge of the bed, his back to me. I wondered how something so small, so unintentional, could unravel the trust we had built. And I wondered if our family would survive it. The next morning, I decided I couldn't let the silence destroy us any further. I found Ethan in the kitchen, hunched over a bowl of cereal, his headphones in. When he saw me, he froze, his spoon halfway to his mouth. "Ethan," I said softly, "we need to talk." He pulled out his headphones but didn't look at me. "About what?" "About that morning. About what you told your dad." His shoulders stiffened. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I don't know. I thought he deserved to know." I sat down across from him. "Yes, he deserves to know. But what did you tell him? Because the way he came to me last night, it sounded like you made it seem like it was something more than what it really was." Ethan's face turned red, and he stared into his cereal. I didn't know how to explain it. I was embarrassed. I thought if I just told him, it would get off my chest. But I didn't mean for it to sound bad. My heart softened as I looked at him, a boy caught in the complicated mess of divorce, blended families, and unspoken insecurities. "Ethan, I need you to understand something. I care about this family. I care about your dad, and I care about you. What happened was an accident. Nothing more. But the way it's been twisted is hurting all of us." For the first time, he looked up at me, his eyes brimming with guilt. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." That afternoon, Ethan sat down with Mark and me. He confessed that he had exaggerated his words, not out of malice but confusion. He admitted he had felt awkward around me for a long time, unsure of how to navigate having me in his life, and the bathroom incident had only intensified his discomfort. Mark listened, his face softening with every word. When Ethan finished, there was a long silence before Mark reached over and put a hand on his son's shoulder. "We'll get through this. But no more secrets. No more letting little things grow into monsters." In that moment, I felt the tightness in my chest begin to loosen. The truth had come out, not perfectly, not cleanly, but enough to begin healing. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Trust, once cracked, takes time to mend. But slowly, through open conversations, family dinners, and quiet moments, we began to rebuild. Ethan started to let his guard down around me, and though there were still walls, they weren't as high as before. Looking back now, I see that what could have destroyed us instead became a turning point.